Pienso que un sueño parecido no volverá más. Y me pintaba las manos y la cara de azul. Y de provisa el viento rápida me debo.
I'm sorry to some out there who are laughing at us right now, who've been neutralized psychologically by the controllers. Because your own false identity that you've had constructed for you is what you believe is your intellect or your being is a false construct, so you can't go against who you believe you are. You have to deny what we're saying. It's all documented because you feel like your own enslavement is your soul. That's very sad because we need to try to avert this. We need to try to reverse this. We have a limited window in time, in my opinion, to reverse what's happening. Alan, digressing for a moment, do you think we are in that limited window? I mean, and I want to get into solutions later, and then B, continuing with the phasing out of humanity.
I think we're well underway. We didn't know that we were being sterilized until the reports came out. The reports I've had for 50 years started to leak out, so we get the news 50 years later. This is how things are done. We're the last to be told any truth, or at least even the effects of the truth. And they're well on their way to their objective. We're watching them go through this financial nonsense. This is the power of the purse, the last thing to be used to unite the whole planet. And because we're all on the one economic system, we know no other way. This is all we've been given. This is all we can remember for a couple of thousand years. Then there seems to be no way out of it. So the power of the purse is going to force everyone along into the next phase of control. Money is used, remember, mainly as a tool by the elites. They don't need money. They already own everything, technically. They don't have to carry cash with them or even credit cards. Doors open wherever they go. But money is the trick to control the people and to get us to work along with their system, for their system. Eventually, they won't even need that. But part of the phase on the way to the elimination of money for their brave new worlds will be a credit system that will come in for every citizen. And Bertrand Russell talked about this back in the 1950s, where the government, in collusion with the banks, will directly give you into your account every week a deposit which you cannot save up. So it starts at the same figure every Monday. And if you go against the system, you don't behave in a certain way, whatever, they will hold back your credits, you can't pay your rent, and so on. And this is going to be used as a form of social control. So we see with this present government-bank merger system that's coming in, that's right on with the agenda, and the government will eventually be right into your account, and they will use it as a tool to control you. If you've been a bad boy, no more money for a few weeks until you bend the knee. And this is coming in, and I'm certain this is what's going to come out of this whole globalized monetary system they're bringing in right now.
And again, they create all the crises. They release the biological agents, then they offer the solution. They engineer the economic crisis, they offer the solution. They slip in the Chinese slave goods out of China, and then they say, okay, we passed a law that nobody in America can weave clothes for their children, and we're banning any production in textiles in the U.S. or anywhere else unless it's certified by the government, which then knocks out all the good clothes made properly to where we can only have the GMO cotton and the bad stuff from India and China. I mean, it's all happening, and we see them raiding watermelon farms that are selling watermelons, or raiding people selling milk, or raiding people selling eggs. They're obsessed with shutting down any grassroots, agrarian, self-sufficient societies, which shows that's one of their weak points, isn't it?
It is one of their weak points, indeed, yes.
Back in 70 seconds, Alan, let's talk about that and talk about solutions and things we can do to fight this. And I want to get into chemtrails with you and our carbon footprint, how that's going to be controlled. And then we'll go to your phone calls, ladies and gentlemen. Final hour, straight ahead. All right, final hour on this final broadcast of this week, first week of the new year. We're back live this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. And, of course, next week, for a few of the days, Jason Burmis is here in town. He'll be sitting in with a lot of important and informative guests coming up. Now, I want to go back to Alan Watt. Alan, we've been having riveting, informative discussion here. People that say we're being negative, we're not. It's like looking out your window and seeing a storm coming in. Somebody says, what's the weather? Oh, storm's coming in. Oh, don't be negative. All we're doing is covering the facts here, the reality. You alluded about 15 minutes ago to the carbon footprint, the allotted amount of creds you'll have on your card. All of this is admitted. You know, even if you, quote, have wealth, you won't be able to spend it because it'll be past your carbon footprint. And then, of course, that will all be selectively enforced. I mean, this is the total controlled society with the technology to try to carry it out. So can you speak more about life under the carbon footprint, which they're now bringing in? Obama says you'll have weekly, monthly visits to your farm, your home. You'll get special permits to do any changes to your house. Cows, $170 tax, soda, but then all foods, satellite boxes in all your cars, taxing you as you drive. They're now saying it all. Everything we warned people about that was in the planning documents we saw decades ago. We're now here in this continuum from the early elites forming and the scientific dictatorship several thousand years ago to now. How far along on that continuum towards what they believe is their end game are we? Are we 80% there, 90% there?
I think we're probably 90% there. That's why it is in the open now, and they're not really concerned. They have all of the classes they need. As I say, it's mainly academia on their side. They fund so many of the big corporations. Even with the bailouts, the corporations must do as they're told as well, and go along with this. Everyone is being paid off, bought off, or simply blackmailed to go along with this whole agenda. And it's the academia does it willingly. So they're not bothered about the general public whatsoever. In fact, the general public are still watching all the trivia that's doled out to them, as they said they'd do, to keep them happy and entertained. But you're quite right with this whole carbon thing. See, man is the problem according to them. There's too many of us. And everything that we need or use gives off carbon in the manufacturing, even down to creating a house for you to live in is a problem. And that's another way they're getting people off the land. They started voluntary programs to come in and test your house from the government. The government would put so much money towards you re-insulating it, etc. And that scheme was to get us all used to the idea of government coming in and testing our houses to see if they were worthy enough to stand up or be knocked down. And eventually that will become mandatory. They want the people off the land according to Agenda 21, the United Nations program, into these big overcrowded cities, and that's where they plan to contain us. That ties right in with why they have not been upgrading the main cities for many, many years. They're in a mess. The roads are a mess. They admitted in Toronto, for instance, that it would be almost cheaper to build a brand new city than to fix the sewage systems, the roads, and so on, than to be easier to start from scratch. In other words, they don't intend to maintain those cities. These have to be simply to contain the public for a period of 30 to 40 years until the public are pretty well all dead and gone. Now, the whole carbon idea came up from a big think tank that works with all the other big think tanks, well-funded, interconnected with them, and that's the Club of Rome. And the founders of the Club of Rome wrote a book in the 1990s, but they said in the 1970s they were the ones that came up with the idea to unite the planet under and claim that mankind was having a war on the Earth itself, and therefore man was the problem, and they came up with the whole idea of the carbon.
And it's a sick joke because we're a carbon-based life form. Everything on this planet is carbon-based, and they're saying it's going to be a toxic waste, but all their genetic engineering, all their toxic waste dumping, that's okay. It's only carbon dioxide and other gases that come off of life forms, which is all part of the life cycle. They're waging war on the life cycle itself and saying they're going to micromanage and tax every facet. The power to tax is the power to destroy. It is a tax on the life-giving gas itself.